Yeah.
Do you think most GamerGate people did a good job condemning harassment, Hannah?
Um, Maybe after the first few months or whatever. I think it's well into the stage where it the waters get muddied. At the beginning, no.
How do you think the average GamerGate supporter would respond if they saw someone dox or send death threats? And again, you can caveat this between the first few months versus the 2 years in versus 4 years in, or however you want to do it.
Um, and much just sort of like the bystander effect. There's probably going to be a range from like condemning it to having indifference, like it's someone else's problem to follow up on, and probably more interesting like operations to engage with.
Do you think some anti-GamerGate people harassed pro-GamerGate people?
Yeah, probably was a bullshit show.
Do you think GamerGhazi and those in anti-GamerGate communities largely condemned harassment against pro-GG people?
mm, I think so, in similar capacity.
I think so too for the most part. I think Ghazi in particular, um,
Mm.
was generally willing to they condemned the ZachAttack. They condemned your buddy Matt Myers.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, and Izzy Galvez did get fired from the Crash Override Network, Zoe Quinn's organization, after he
Mm.
tried to dox Mombot 2 as part of that group. Um,
Mm.
well, he was a
Gotcha.
volunteer for the organization. He wasn't an
Gotcha.
employee.
Mm.
Do you have any thoughts on ZachAttack?
Um, it's embarrassing, I suppose. It was well orchestrated, I guess. Um, I don't know, it's part of the drama, I suppose. Just a bunch of shit show. I don't know what like a lot of these things that happened past the first couple of weeks or month or so. It's a little hard to try to find good takeaways. Mm.
You don't have to talk about it, but did you receive any harassment during Gamergate from either side or from third-party trolls?
I did not know.
Some individuals, like two individuals that I'm interviewing for this book, admit to being quote unquote third party trolls who just wanted to cause chaos but didn't support
Mm.
Gamergate. One of the two individuals says that he was 14 years old at the time and didn't even know what Gamergate was. He just sent tons of harassing messages at so called social justice warriors, quote unquote, as a form of entertainment with his friends. He also says that the Gamergate anti-harassment brigade stopped him at various points, but he kept making new accounts anyway. What do you think of this aspect of the controversy?
Um, I mean, like the purpose of it being highlighted is that like the whole idea of like what is the purpose of it is that like Gamergate would like to emphasize how like that people such as this were like the face of the harassment and establish like their own uninvolvement as Gamergate with them and to use that as sort of an example to exonerate Gamergate. Um, and I don't know, like Gamergate's part of the whole cultural zeitgeist that produced reactionary anti-regressive sentiment and produced like the targets of harassment because they were not arbitrary. Um, no, like I said before, no snowflake wants to consider itself part of the avalanche, and Gamergate did its part to make these people prominent and targets for ire. Mm.
I mean, all three of these people were, as you say, like already semi-famous.
Yeah, but
Especially
not
Anita. Anita
arbitrarily.
was a huge, huge superstar. She's an extremely popular public figure.
Yes, because of the backlash to the tropes versus women thing, which is the same um, wave of outrage as Gamergate.
In the chat, Mist Sonata asks, why not change the hashtag to a different hashtag? She says like hashtag game ethics or something. What do you think of that idea? Still leaderless, but
Um,
different hashtag name.
it could be a start. Mm.
I disagree. I like the GamerGate hashtag. I think it encapsulates what we care about and who we are as people. Is that we're gamers. And that we were attacked as being gamers. But that's my perception. Other people might have different ideas. And like that's fine if you want to use different hashtags. Like I don't think that's cool. But like I see it as like the media trend. I wasn't a part of GamerGate at the time, but like it's come up before, even when I was
Mm.
involved. Like this idea that maybe we should have leaders, we should have a council, we should have a different hashtag. Well, that was come up a couple times. That wasn't like a really popular idea. The council idea, like that might have had some support behind it, but
Mm-hmm.
would you be fine if GamerGate became like a was still a leader was still a hashtag movement, but they had like an election of some kind, and they picked like 30 people to represent them in like a parliament or something,
Um,
like a council of
I think
GamerGate.
that would produce accountability. So I think probably, yeah, that would be an improvement.
I mean, like the people like I can get you in touch with this guy. The third party trolls. There were a lot of trolls like this. It wasn't just like two people. It was
Mhm.
at least several dozen people who were extremely dedicated to harassing people on both sides. Well, Avius mostly just harassed the, the social justice warriors, but the other guy, Pterodax, he harassed people on both sides.
Mm.
Like
I,
this wasn't like this. This was probably most of the harassment actually. Like I probably I do believe that. Like most of like the especially the doxing and stuff. Oh, 1,000%. Like that was like the Bill Wagner crew. That that was I don't know if Avius ever did that. I don't know if he ever went that far. I'd have to ask him in the interview. But like this was
even
like
if that is,
go ahead.
say, like, even if that is the case, I would find it difficult to believe that, apropos of nothing, these random third party trolls decided to completely at random harass the exact same people like Gamergate was discussing and made the center of their discussion.
I mean, everybody on the internet, like you said, was supposedly talking about this stuff, like and Kiwi Farms and all these other different communities.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, yeah, they considered a lot of the people on both sides to be lol cows.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that's part of the phenomena I said.
Or they just fucked with people because they thought it'd be funny, which is like also like that's that's a thing that happened, and then we get
Mm.
blamed for it, but only they only talk about when they get harassed. They never talk about when we get harassed, and they blame us for the harassment. They being the media and Wikipedia and critics of GamerGate in many cases. Not everybody who criticizes GamerGate. Like you have a more nuanced take, but
Um,
many
yeah,
supporters of GamerGate report receiving harassment. Do you believe that was true, and if so, why?
yeah, probably. I mean, there is it was a shit show. There's a lot of chaotic, just Twitter feuding going on. So yeah.
What do you think of the term sea lioning and how some critics of Gamergate use the term?
I think it's a fantastic term. It is uh, applicable for some of what happened, I suppose, just like some of the discussions that were had. Sure.
Do you think the sea lion, aside from the part at the very end where he goes to her house, aside from that, do you think the sea lion was wrong?
Um, in the sense that the sea lion is making themselves, oh, what's the word? Um, uh, uh, in uh, um, there's a word I'm looking for. Where like you make yourself like impossible to like tolerate. Uh, just make yourself like incredibly difficult to like tolerate. Like just yeah, insufferable. In the sense that the sea lion is making themselves completely insufferable. They are doing what they're doing incorrectly, and the others in the comic are right to like find it really obnoxious.
Okay. I think the sea lion's right. That's also maybe like a disagreement that we have. That's like a fundamental disagreement. You think?
uh, I don't want to get ableist, but like, no, no. I'll leave it at that.
By the way, welcome to the chat, Devil's Advocate. This is the first time I think I've seen you in the chat for a very long time. Uh, any thoughts on GGRevolt?
Um, not really. It wasn't really the part of it all that I was interacting with.
Were you aware of GGRevolt and what they were like?
Um, not really. No, not at the time.
Do you think that I was gonna ask? Well, I'm not gonna ask you if GGRevolt was the real GamerGate, but were the
Mm.
trolls, the third-party trolls, the real GamerGate?
Um, no, they're just another product of the sort of reactionary, um, like the wave of the reactionary sort of zeitgeist as how it intersected with gaming culture.
So the real, I was, this is sort of when I asked you to define GamerGate. I
Yeah, it's sort of
guess,
what I came to
yeah,
the gamer. It's the fish. It's the fish.
yeah. So I
Mm,
probably should I delete this question then? Because it's kind of like a repeat.
mm,
The question was, what was the real Gamergate to you? Because so there was this whole segment here, where I was going to ask if people thought what they thought of GG Revolt and if they thought GG Revolt was the real Gamergate, and then I was going to ask if they
mm,
think the trolls were the real Gamergate, and then I was
mm.
asking what the real Gamergate is.
Yeah,
But like, yeah,
I wrote down pretty much no, no, no for all those,
okay.
and then I like got into my weird analogy.
Do you think that even if it were the case that the vast majority of Gamergate supporters were actually against harassment, that society should probably still view it through that lens because what harassment did occur, whether by them or by third parties, is a more important aspect of the story than a bunch of people who don't like games journalism, a handful of articles declaring gamers dead, and what they perceive as censorship of their games?
Um, I guess that's the idea. Yeah, mostly because a lot of those issues were not as I stated, like not meaningfully redressed in ways that, for example, Chanology did for their inception. Because it would be incorrect to say that Project Chanology was all just about DDoSing Scientology websites, because that was very meaningfully moved away from, and because it was the whole like nature of the effort was meaningfully course corrected. But that didn't really happen with GamerGate, so yeah.
To piggyback on what Mist Sonata says in the chat, was the real GamerGate the friends we made along the way?
Perhaps so. Mm.
Thank you for watching another video segment from the people of GamerGate. I'm happy to announce that the book, The People of GamerGate Volume 1, is now available in both hardcover and Kindle formats. Please head over to gamergatebook.com or search for The People of GamerGate on Amazon to pick up your copy today. Thank you, and have a great day.